Hey, this is Mark of the Practical Still. I am not in Dan's garage. I'm not in my dining room. I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I'm here this weekend because of a big bike ride called the Foco Fondo. But you know, I can't miss a chance to have some whiskey, so I'm at the Whiskey here on College. Is that College out there?
Yeah, yep. So
on College, right here in the middle of downtown Fort Collins. I'm with Zach, and Zach works here at the Whiskey, and he is part of the reason that they have the largest whiskey selection in Colorado and the third largest in the nation. So normally on Fridays, Dan and I do Friday Sips Live. You know, sometimes we get carried away with how many drinks. I'm going to drink 3,200, 2,800.
It bounces between the two.
2,800. I'm going to drink 2,800 whiskeys today. And in the middle of that, we'll talk about some fun stuff about a whiskey bar, because I don't actually go to whiskey bars all that often, believe it or not.
That's fair, yeah. You know, yeah. It sounds like you have a pretty vast collection yourself. So
I have enough bottles to keep me busy at home.
Nice.
So I've always wondered, how do you decide, because represents a big investment. How do you guys decide what to bring into the bar and what goes here versus what goes in the fancy cabinet down on the end?
I would definitely say that, like, in general, we kind of tend to, in the early part of when this place opened up, it was more of like a mad dash trying to get more bottles here, you know? Yeah. These days, it's a lot more selective, you know. We try all sorts of things by different distillers, different representatives and stuff like that. Ambassadors come in. They kind of show us off a lot of really cool bottles, but we kind of get a little bit more picky these days, kind of thing, you know. We give, I wouldn't say harsh feedback, but we're brutally honest, I would say, you know, like...
it's an investment.
Yeah, exactly, you know, yeah. So it's kind of one of those things, we want to be able to showcase really quality product. You had mentioned before that you tend to compare everything to, like, Wild Turkey 101, right?
Yeah, baseline whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that's an excellent idea, too. I love doing that. You know, we tend to, I really like being able to have some affordable pours for the most part, you know. So a lot of, like, smaller time distilleries and stuff, you know, their product isn't the cheapest out there, but it generally ends up being cheaper than, like, Buffalo Trace products.
Yeah, there's still a craft tax out there for some of the smaller distillers. And you said since in the beginning, when did the whiskey open?
So this place opened up in 2014. I believe we had about 600 whiskeys when it first opened up. Now we're up to 2,800 on the list, hovering around 3,200 as we're trying to update it and everything. So
yeah, and downstairs where you hold all the backstock is gigantic. It's just like a liquor store. Actually, probably more whiskey than most liquor stores have.
Yeah, generally, yeah. Now it's definitely it's a lot of bottles, and you know there's a few that we don't actually have on offer right now because there's just not enough room at the moment to keep it all up here. Which is why we're actually expanding this giant case behind me to go all the way to this front window.
Wow! So that's another, what, 20 feet?
Yeah. It should add about 800 new bottles to our collection, or like just up here. We generally keep about 1,000 up here, and then we have a little back section that holds the rest of the collection.
So I'll some open bottles. I worry when I get 30 or 40.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you're picky. You want people to have a good selection and something affordable. That's important to me because the practical still. It's you shouldn't have to spend a ton of money.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
One of the things that gives you a chance to try something different than the standard offering are single barrels, and over there you've got some of your single barrel offerings. How do you guys do the picks for those? How do you choose those? And are you still going to distilleries, or are you getting samples?
Yeah, so it's a combination of the two, really. But we tend to, our general manager, Tavo, he tends to be the one that actually directly selects the barrels themselves. We do, however, we kind of conglomerate when we get a new barrel in. The whole staff usually kind of like takes a little bit of the samples, just kind of like give some notes for ones that are sent in here. We do sometimes go to distilleries as well and kind of check stuff out that way. But generally speaking, I would say they send us like 3 or 4 samples in a box. We get to choose from that. If we don't like it, we send it back and we're like, we can choose different barrels, kind of thing, you know? Yeah.
Cool. That's fun. And when you try and figure out making folks happy, I can't imagine that a day goes by that you don't listen to somebody talking, sitting at the bar, and think, I need to help them. So what do you wish the general public knew, or at least the probably two things. The non-whiskey geek public on what's a good way to come in and enjoy whiskey and not get turned off by it, right? If they come in and get a Lafroy, there's a 90% chance they never drink whiskey again.
Yeah.
But how do you approach that? And then also, what do you do to the whiskey geeks that come in here and we all think we know everything? How do you get with those folks too?
So, in regard to like the general public thing, I would definitely say that like I wish it was more known that bourbon, Scotch, Irish whiskey, they're all like under the same category. They're all whiskey, Yeah, it's definitely a general misconception. We get a lot of people in here that are like, "Oh, I don't like whiskey, but I love bourbons," and I think it's like, well, it's a type of whiskey. So, there's a whole world to explore in the world of whiskey, and even just in the world of bourbon, there's all sorts of different characteristics.
Do you have a favorite? Somebody comes in and says, "I've never had bourbon," or "I don't like whiskey." You have that one that well, if they're gonna like it, this is a good entry point.
Yeah, definitely. So I would generally say that like a really good entry level is kind of starting with like bottled and bond kind of stuff. So even just like our house whiskey is going to be, or our house bourbon is going to be Ed & Williams White Label. Excellent starting point. It's nice and sweet. Yeah, exactly. It's very easy to find right now.
They go buy it in the store, they can find it, and they're going to get something solid because of the bottled and bond.
Exactly. Yeah. Or even if they want to do something that might be a little bit more rare, just kind of like see if like really good product just kind of helps them enjoy it. Yeah, we'll do like a Weller Special Reserve or something, because it's still relatively cheap and easy to kind of be like, all right, so if I didn't like this, I'm probably not going to like anything else,
And then do you typically see? Let's start them with an old fashioned or some sort of cocktail to ease them in?
Yeah. So that's definitely like the best way to do it. There's a lot of different cocktails that you can do. I would definitely say that people that tend to like sweeter stuff, it might be easier to do something like a Gold Rush, which is just honey, lemon, and bourbon. But yeah, old fashioned is also an excellent starting point. It kind of showcases the whiskey itself, as well as it gives you a little bit of that extra sweetness and the bitters. Just kind of give you a little bit more a way to kind of enjoy it. Yeah.
So that's the entry level, folks. What do you get a lot of whiskey enthusiasts in here just because of the selection?
Oh yeah, definitely. We definitely get a lot of people that have been around the block a little bit. A lot of people that tend to they try a lot of like Buffalo Trace products in particular. Just because that's what's popular. I would definitely say that it's easy to kind of get to a certain extent kind of lost in the sauce. Like you kind of get really into it and everything, and you kind of lose track of what actually kind of matters about enjoying whiskey. There's this great debate of like, what's the right way to taste whiskey, or like, how do I smell it, or something like that. It's like
per the prophet Booker, no, you drink it any damn well you please.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you enjoy it, that's what matters. So that's the important bit there.
A lot of people don't know he kept a bottle of Perrier on his kitchen table.
Yeah.
Put it in his Booker's.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
If you like it neat, drink it neat. If you like it with something in it, drink it with something in it.
Right. Yeah. I know I had heard something at one point that like the Van Winkle family, they always like mixed it with Coke kind of thing. It's just whatever tastes good.
My friends will say, so if I come to your house and want a bourbon and Coke, you're going to let me have it? Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
If I have some Coke.
Yeah, right. I don't know what's keeping it around, but yeah.
Cool. Well, that's good that we can bring both the newbie and try and get them into the hobby or the experience of whiskey. And it's amazing with the breadth of selection. I'm sure there's a lot of enthusiasts that come in.
Definitely.
And Ogle, the back bottle, we'll show that to you too. It's an amazing collection of unobtainium whiskey.
Definitely, yeah, no. It's kind of fun being able to like at least just see those kind of bottles and be like, all right, so they're not completely unobtainable. We can still get here. So yeah.
So what about flights? Flights are popular. Do you guys pre-make up flights, or do you encourage people to make their own up? And if they make their own up, what do you think is the best way to do that?
Yeah, so on weekends we do a set of pre-made flights kind of thing. We have an Irish, rye, a couple of Scotch flights kind of thing. Just kind of showcase the variety of whiskeys there. During weekdays, though, when it's a little bit slower, we can take a little bit more time and kind of discuss things, We definitely tend to do some, like, custom flights. It's very fun to be able to do stuff like that, I can't tell you how many times I've made a flight of, let's just do one Irish, one rye, one bourbon, one Japanese, just to kind of get wild, It's kind of fun to be able to do stuff like that, yeah.
And it's hard to do at home. It's hard to have enough of that to do something like that on your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can. Dan can do that. Dan and I could make a heck of a flight together, but everybody doesn't have that opportunity, if you come to my house.
Well, especially if you're not like an enthusiast and you just want to like dip your toe into it, you don't want to spend $500 on a collection.
Exactly. Even an inexpensive bottle of reasonable whiskey can add up really quick.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done podcast episodes about if I had $100, which 4 bottles would you buy? And you can do some fun stuff, but that's still $100, and maybe 1 out of 4 or 5 is going to be something you don't really like.
Yeah.
I come have flights. I think it's one of the best things you can do in a place like this is to take advantage of the fact that they've made that investment.
Yeah.
In doing the flights.
Yeah.
Back on single barrel, because I'm staring at it right now. A lot of people try and pick a single barrel or a private selection that's on profile, but just better, just kind of the honey barrel. And some people are looking for that Buffalo Trace bottle that's just off profile.
Yeah.
You guys lean one way or the other, or does it kind of depend on which whiskey you're shooting?
I'd say we have a healthy mix of the two, like when it comes to like when we select a single barrel rye whiskey, we tend to go for kind of something that's sweeter than the general rye whiskey, just because for one, everything's going to be cask strength, so that inherent sweetness is going to be better for pretty much everyone. Cask strength is a wild animal to kind of tame, yeah. But yeah, no, and when it comes to we do a Buffalo Trace single barrel pretty much all the time. We always have that. We tend to go for a little bit off the standard profile, a little bit heavier on vanilla if we can, kind of thing, just kind of showcase what a single barrel can be before the blending process, even when it comes to we have a redemption barrel right now that's a high rye bourbon. That one's very similar characteristic to kind of the general bottle that you'll find. And it's kind of fun to be able to just kind of see how so many of this barrel would go into the vast mixture and kind of change the profile to be more like that general.
Do you think maybe sometimes that has to do with, I can't imagine how many barrels are in a typical Buffalo Trace shelf offering, 800 or 1,000, versus something like Redemption where there's going to probably be less barrels, so you end up, even the single barrels just end up a little closer to the standard profile.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so there's definitely there's going to be a lot more variety with larger production, and that's something that Buffalo Trace is a great example of. For the most part, they use a lot of the same juice for a lot of different products.
So they only have two bourbon mash bills?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So everything beyond that is dependent on where it's at in the rick house, the temperature during that year, kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which rick house. Yeah, so it's kind of, you get a lot of variety just off of that, So it's kind of fun to be able to sample how high up in the rick house that might kind of influence the flavor.
Yeah, that's stuff. And you guys serve food here too, right?
Yeah. So we generally don't do a lot of pairing or anything like that, just because we work out of the same kitchen as our sister bar, Tony's.
But you got to be something that you guys serve, that your go-to food, your go-to whiskey. What are those two components?
Yeah, absolutely. So our owner is very Greek, so we serve a lot of Greek-style food, like a gyro we have on the menu and everything, being that lamb and beef mix and everything, that's going to go really well with bourbon, just because that sweetness kind of helps with red meat kind of flavor profiles a little bit. We serve a few different chicken dishes that I would definitely recommend doing something like an Irish whiskey or even a rye with kind of thing, So
when you said Greek food and gyro, my first thought was beef and scotch.
Yeah,
just popped in. I don't
also an excellent plan. Yeah,
smoky.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I personally don't drink a lot of scotch myself. I'm a rye whiskey guy, and I've heard so many people say that you kind of tend to be one or the other kind of thing. I would say, yes.
Well, I think for sure with scotch, when you taste peated whiskey, you like it or you don't.
Yeah.
It is not an acquired taste. And I mean, the first time I tasted it, I thought heaven came to get me. I love peated scotch. And luckily my wife does too, so there's no argument in our house. There's a $150 bottle of peated scotch to buy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I do think that people do tend towards whiskey. So rye whiskey, is your favorite more the Kentucky style rye that's just barely a rye? Or are you more the MGP 95.5 or the Whistle Pig 100%?
Yeah. So I'd say I enjoy both of them honestly, because like Sagamore is an excellent rye, excellent example of like a bourbon drinker's rye, you know, and it's a great rye. Pikesville is excellent as well, you know. But I would also say that Whistle Pig, love everything they've done so far, you know.
That's all three different ones. You just like all the rye.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just enjoy that like kind of peppery, just kind of like the spice to it.
Pikesville's a practical still favorite, but it's not all whiskey here, is it?
No, it's not. Yeah, we also we have 400 different agaves actually as well.
400
agave spirits. Yeah, we have I think it's the largest tequila collection as well in Colorado. So
But tequilas and mezcal.
tequila, mezcal, right? Stuff like that. Yeah. So
How long was that a relatively new thing?
Yeah, so that was actually going to launch as its own bar in March of 2020, and that didn't work out. So that was definitely
whatever would have happened in March of 2020.
Yeah, exactly. So right now we're kind of at a point where we finally officially put together like a list that you can pick from. We have a separate cocktail menu back there. We kind of run a separate program back there. Actually, we have a Corazon single barrel that's an añejo. We actually took one of our old Buffalo Trace barrels and we aged this tequila, and yeah, that's definitely kind of a fun way to do it. Yeah.
It came out good.
It's excellent, actually. It's just probably one of the best tequilas I've ever had.
That sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, no, it's delicious. Yeah, no, it's just so vanilla forward, no additives or anything. It's just amazing.
So, if you're in Fort Collins, Colorado, or frankly, if I live in Erie, it's 35, 40 minutes away, it's worth the drive. Huge variety. Come see Zach, get some guidance. If you don't know what to drink, or stop by Erie and I'll get in the car and come up here with you. We'll drink some stuff. And if you've ever been tequila curious, there's 400 tequilas and mezcals and other agave spirits to try here. Some of them even aged, which of course often they will age in añejos and bourbon barrels, but it was your own bourbon barrel.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's kind of fun to be able to do stuff like that.
So come up, try some flights, try some single barrels, get the tour, at least, you know, from here to there, and have fun. Zach, thanks for hanging out with me.
Absolutely. My pleasure.